Hi Stampers, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you a fun fold card. We're going to be doing this double-decker pop-up card. And so it has that extra layer in the middle, and it's built up on kind of a little square piece on the inside. So I can't wait to show you how it's done. Let's move you down to my desk. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here, and thanks to you who are already liked and shared my video. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. As a thank you for liking and sharing the video, you get entered into a drawing to possibly win that day's card as the prize patrol. So go ahead and like and share the video, and then let me know you've done that, and you get entered in to possibly receive this card in the mail. We're going to be playing around with the Playing in the Rain bundle. This is a stamp and die set. I need the dies, don't I? Here we go. Okay, so here are the dies, and as you can see, there are several dies. They're going to cut out our various characters, and then there are some additional ones like the little bridge and the kite and the butterflies, things that you can cut out in addition to what's already in the stamp set. One of the things I love about the clouds that we're going to use today is that is one die. So this is one stamp and one die. So there's not as much lining up as you might need to do if it was going to be three different ones. Occasionally I get the question, where did I get these little magnetic cards and the little envelopes that I store all my dies in? I get these from Stamp and Storage, and there is an affiliate link on my website where you can go find those. But I find them very helpful because I can stack them in a rolling cart that I have here in my office, and it keeps them all nice and easy to find, and they're easier for me to put away than trying to stick back onto those sheets. I hope you all are getting my newsletter and that you have seen that I am offering a 12% discount if you place an order with me this month. Between my birthday, which was last Thursday, and Valentine's Day, which is Friday, you get an extra 12% off of your order, in addition to the freebies that you're going to get from the Celebration rewards as well. That's just a thank you from me in honor of my birthday and my Stampiversary month. It's 12 years that I've been a demo this time around, and so that's why it's a 12% discount. Okay, here are the pieces we're going to be working with. So I have a Daffodil Delight card base, and it is, of course, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. But then I scored it again here at the 2 1/8. So I'm basically scoring the front part of our card in half. And then I'm going to fold it backwards onto itself. And so that's going to give us this special opening to our card. And then I have some paper to decorate it with. I'm using the Floral Delight Designer Series paper. It's very nice and bright and cheerful. It does, of course, coordinate with a stamp set and the whole thing. But lately, I've been showing you how you can get sometimes just the Designer Series papers, and you don't even need the coordinating stamp set in order to make a beautiful card. I'm trying to make some adjustments to my hyped up card a little bit to show how you don't have to have quite as many supplies as I have or quite as much experience. So my Thursday cards, while they still may be a little bit different than your standard fold in half, score in half kind of card, there's a little extra something to them, but they are called a Stamping Made Simple series that I'm doing for more of your beginner layer. So I hope you join me on Thursday, especially if you're a beginner, because those cards might be a little easier to accomplish. They're still fun. I don't do boring very well, but they are simpler. I also want to remind you we only have a little over 2 weeks left of Celebration, so a couple things are starting to run low. One of them being the Bloom Impressions Designer Series paper. When I checked this morning, it was pretty low on inventory, and I don't know that they'll replace it at this point because there's only a short time left for Celebration. So if that was on your wish list, you want to make sure you get your order in soon. For every $60 that you spend, you get a level 1 item, or if you spend 160, you get a level 2 or 2 level 1s. So you can build on them and get more. I forgot to mention this was 5 1/4 by 1 7/8, as well as this one, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. So if you wanted those measurements, this piece here is 2 1/4 by 3, and I scored every 3/4 of an inch. So it's at 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4. And then I put adhesive on the back side of that, and I'm going to butt it up to my score line. I don't want it to interfere with the score line, but I want it to come up to the score line. And then I'm going to fold this over, and I'm going to put some more adhesive on this side. And then I'm going to close my card. And then I'm going to press here. And by doing that, that's going to create that little pop-up. And because of the way I did it, it's going to ensure that I can absolutely close my card and it's not going to interfere with the closure of the card. I have the little bunny that we're going to be stamping, and think about it and let me know what color you think his coat should be, because I'm not really digging the green coat. At first I thought I was going to like it because it would pull out the green from the paper back here, but I don't know, it blends too much with his body. Should I make him a white bunny or light gray, or I could possibly change up the color of his jacket and make it yellow, or would red be too wrong? Let me know what colors you think we ought to be painting the bunny while I finish up the rest of this card. Of course, if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the comments. I apologize to Carol Sue. Last week she had asked me about the black inks, and I signed off before I got to answer her. So I did email her and let her know that we do have 2 different blacks, and they are both kind of an outside source. They are not made by Stampin' Up. It's just what Stampin' Up sells. Stampin' Up has tried multiple times to try to make their own black ink, and for some reason, they're not 100% happy with the way it's coming out. So we do use Memento Black and Stays On Black. We have the 2 different ones because the Memento is a dye-based ink, as are all our regular inks. And then this one's an alcohol-based ink. They're different because when you're coloring, we talk often about how we would use the Stampin' Blends and how they will blend together. They blend together because they're an alcohol-based ink, and the alcohols are going to blend together. So if I was to use an alcohol-based ink as a base, it would blur. It would go ahead and blend in with my colors. So I want to make sure that I'm using a water-based ink when I color with my Stampin' Blends so that the outline stays solid and the alcohol blends will blend. Now, in reverse, if I was going to be using the watercolor pencils or my aqua painters or something that is a water-based ink, then I want to use an alcohol-based ink as my outline so that when all my water-based inks are blending together, it's not blurring the outline. So if I don't get back to you on here, if I have your email, if you're in my newsletter list, or if I can find your email, I will absolutely email you back when I forget. I apologize for that. So I'm just scrolling back and making sure there's no other ones that I missed. I'm glad to see that Helene got her prize in the mail and that she likes the yellows. Yeah, they are very cheerful and happy. I'm glad to see Henderson is warming up. My son was complaining. He lives down in Henderson, and he was saying that because they're right outside Vegas, they're so used to everything being hot that when they had their little cold spell, he didn't have any jackets, like the proper weather for like sticking out in the cold. So the fact that it's warming up is a good thing for him for sure. Okay, so I have my inside layers. This is going to be my double decker part. And so I have a bottom one. This is going to go on the inside. This is 3 by 4 1/4. And then my outside one is going to be 2 3/4 by 4. So it's just slightly different. It's going to give a little bit of an outline so that when they stack on top of each other, I kind of get that. Let me get the tickler out of the way. We'll have more screen space. Congratulations to Melanie again. Make sure that you go to my website and claim your prize. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the bigger layer on the inside. So I'm going to put that on this right here. So I'm going to put some adhesive right there. And I'm going to take my bigger one and kind of center it. And then once again, I'm making sure that when I close my card, that it's not interfering with that score line at all. That's going to be nice and smooth in their operation and in laying flat for mailing. Then I'm going to take this smaller one and I'm going to adhere it over the top, kind of placing it to where it's going to give me that little border I was talking about. So I want to put adhesive here. I'm giving it more adhesive than normal because I am going to be moving it a lot and I want to make sure that it sticks well. But normally you just need little bits of adhesive because this is a very strong adhesive that we're using. This is Stampin' Seal. There's also what we call a Stampin' Seal Plus. And then if you want even more hold, we have Terran tape. But I think the seal is going to work as long as I'm using enough. And then I turned my card because I want this to be the most comfortable for me as far as being able to see and good placement of my hands in order to line that up and stick it down. Okay, so don't be afraid to kind of like spin things and move it around in order to get what's most comfortable for you when you're assembling your card as well as when you're coloring. I find it super important to do when I'm coloring, to turn the paper, or when I'm doing, just realized I don't have that little strip. I need this little strip. When you're doing fussy cutting. So let me grab this. So I'm just grabbing a leftover strip. It's not going to be the same as in here. On this one, I happen to have the check. For this one, I have some of what's left over from the back. So we can either put flowers down the side or we can use the back. So I'm setting this in my trimmer and just laying it on the 1/2 inch mark. And I'm butting it up to the bottom, lining it up on the 1/2 inch over here. I'm starting with the blade up here. I don't want to start from the bottom and move up, because if I do that, unless I'm really holding on to that piece of paper, it's going to move. The blade will kind of push it and it will shift. So if I start up at the top and I slide down, if it tried to move, it would be stopped by these little raised edges at the bottom. And of course, I always mention all the time, keep that track clean. Use a little piece of cardstock, designer series paper, something, get all the fuzz out of there frequently. I can't say that often enough. It makes such a difference with our blades. Okay, these little white pieces that are going to be my layers, this is 2.5 by 3 3/4. And as I said, I'm going to be putting this down the side. I could use the seal, but I think I'm going to use liquid glue for my wiggle time, and also just because it's a little narrower, I can mess with it a little more. Okay, and as I was saying with the liquid glue, did you see how I was able to shift that around and move it? That's something I would not have been able to do if I was using the Stampin' Seal. It does eventually grab hold and then I can't move it, but it does give me that little bit of extra time. And then when I'm trimming off the excess, rather than trimming here from the front, I'm going to flip it over because this is going to be much more distinctive. And I can bring my scissors up against this edge and cut that off. So the little lip that will stop my blade and the color difference makes it easier to cut from the back side. Okay, so just a little bit of adhesive in the corners. And then I'm going to set this in here. And it has a wider border than I'm going to have on the outside. This one's going to have the regular size border where there's a slightly larger one on the inside. But I'm not going to adhere that yet because I want to do my stamping first. It's always better to stamp before adhering so that in case there's any boo-boos, you didn't ruin your entire card. You can either replace this piece of paper or in some cases even just flip it over and stamp on the other side. Okay, did anybody tell me a preference for what the color they wanted our little bunny to be for his jacket? I'm going to pull that out. And this, we're going to have this little rain puddle he sits in. These pieces in here, these are from the designer series paper that we had when this was released. I keep little extra pieces. Usually there's a clear envelope over here that I will stick them in, but I find out if I have excess anything, die cuts, stamped pieces, whatever that go with a stamp set, if I keep them inside the stamp case, I am much more likely to use them. If when I open the case, I go, oh yeah, I forgot I had those. Yeah, Misty Moonlight might be pretty. Good idea for that. Okay, so I am going to stamp in a smoky slate. I could stamp in the Memento Black because we are coloring, we want a water-based ink, but our Stampin' Classic pads are dye-based ink, so that's going to work. And it's going to be slightly lighter, which is going to be a more subtle outline, which I have a tendency to like better. Again, that's a preference thing. You can choose whatever you wish to work with. Sometimes we do what we call a no-line coloring, where we might take a really, really light color like a lemon lolly or maybe crumb cake or the smoky slate, one of those, and we would ink up our stamp it off on scrap paper, and then stamp onto here. And then when you start coloring, you can't barely see the outline. You are mostly seeing just the image. I probably wanted to cover him up. Oh, he has the puddle. Okay. I was thinking I needed the second puddle, but he has a puddle under him. Okay, and then I'm going to need some scrap paper to stamp our clouds, and I'm going to do those in Balmy Blue. Now I want to be able to die cut these out, and I'm going to be using my smaller cut and emboss machine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down so the piece isn't quite as big because it'll only fit 3 inches through there, and this is going to be too wide. So I just popped that into my trimmer and made this a little smaller. I'm going to get the coordinating die and then my plates. So because we are die cutting, I am going to use plate number 1 and a plate number 2 and a second number 2. I'm going to use my messier one on top. If you have the ability to, I try to keep I don't know that I have one over here. I try to keep a cleaner plate to use on top than I use on the bottom, because we can cut this one up and it doesn't put imprints on the top of our stamped image. Also, if you have any issues with the dies moving around, you may want to use a little bit of washi tape or some post-it note tape, or even just a post-it note itself, to hold that in place as we run it through the machine so that it does not shift. You'll also notice this one has the Stampin' Up name and the part number on there. So sometimes if you have a rogue die that didn't get put away like it should have and you don't know where it goes, sometimes you get lucky and you flip it over and it has that part number on the bottom. And that part number tells you what die set it came out of. So just an extra little tip there. Has anybody considered actually joining Stampin' Up, either to make a little bit of extra money in this economy or to actually get a discount on your stamp supplies? This might be a really good time to join, because right now you would get your regular $125 worth of product for $99 with free shipping, but then they're going to add on to that either an additional $30 if you wish, or you can get 2 sets of our Stampin' Write markers and a stamp set added on for free. And our Stampin' Write markers come in these sets where they are by color family, and you would get to choose 2 families of your choice to add on to your kit totally for free. And then you get a minimum of at least a 20% discount through your first full quarter, which, since we've already started this quarter, it would be the second quarter, which is April, May, and June. And then you get July as a pending month to get caught up. So through July 31st, you would have a 20% discount at a minimum. And then if you decided to stay on, which most people do, you would absolutely love our team and all the benefits that you get with that. Or you can just drop and you don't have to pay back any of the discount that you got. And as a hobby demo, because you're not really making any money, you don't have to pay. I mean, you don't get a 1099 for taxes on that. So don't worry that it's going to mess that up. Okay, so I'm just coloring little bits with this light petal pink. I did the tip of his nose and then inside his ears. I have little labels on the end of mine. I have them all typed up and shrunk down to these sizes if you wanted to purchase those in my online store. And then you could find the punch that punches them out. I think it's 3/8 of an inch is in my Amazon affiliate store. But it makes it really easy when I put them away to see what colors they are, because they're on the ends. Okay, I'm just filling in a little bit with light around here, and I'm using this small end. Our Stampin' Right markers and our Stampin' Blends are both dual tipped, meaning there is a smaller end for smaller areas or for writing. And then there's a brush tip end, which on our Stampin' Right markers might be used for coloring larger areas or calligraphy, or coloring on the backs of stamps to use them for stamping. And again, like I said, there's a brush tip and a fine point. And all of our Stampin' Blends come in sets of a light and a dark. So I'm just coloring him in. I figure he's going to be a little darker on the bottom because number one, he's wet, and number two, it's kind of shaded by his body. I'm going to give a little bit of extra of the dark in here where the artist has put some dark. And then I'm going to come in with my light. Oh, and this one needs a new tip. Do you know that over on my YouTube channel, I have a series of videos that are little tips and tricks, and one of them is replacing the nibs on these. I buy these nibs replacements on Amazon, and you can replace them if they get kind of messed up. I'm giving it a little bit of extra ink in here where it's darker, because as long as they get really, really wet, they're going to blend better. Okay. Oop, we forgot his little hands. Also, in my newsletter, I mentioned that Stampin' Up! Has released a bunch of other options that you can choose as your free celebration item for placing an order. And there are some sets of dies that are a fabulous deal to grab for free. And they have just a slightly different number to them. So they are an active item you can pay full price for, or you can choose them as a freebie. There's just going to be a different item number, and the item number is what's going to tell the computer whether it's a free item or a paid for item. So if you try to add it to your order saying this should be one of my celebration items and it should be free, you're going to, number one, need to put it in the celebration freebie section. And then you're also going to have to use the right item number. Also, if you like my cards, you may want to consider taking my online class. I have a class coming up where you can order the parts. I cut everything and make it ready to go for 12 cards. There's 6 designs. You make 2 of each one, and then you get a PDF tutorial and a video tutorial that you can watch at your own pace to make all of your cards. If you already have the stamp set, that's fine, because the stamp set includes, or this class includes consumables. So it's going to be your designer series paper and some embellishments and things. So that those of you who already own the stamp set, beautiful butterflies, can still partake in my class. I'm sorry if I tend to ramble when I'm coloring. I don't know. Don't want you to get bored sitting here listening. The link to the nibs, it's going to be on my website, or on my Amazon store. Let me grab that link. There we go. So any of the things I recommend that are from Amazon can be found in my Amazon storefront. And that's going to include the nibs and the mini magnets, the undo, all those little extra things that I use that Stampin' Up! Does not sell. Okay. Okay. I need some dimensionals. Oh, let's go ahead and stick them to the card. You'll notice that it does bleed through all the way to the back side, so you might want to be careful what you have underneath. You wouldn't want to have it bleed through to something you're not okay with it getting inky. But it also will tell you if you're using enough ink. If you're using the Stampin' Blends and you're not really getting the blending that you expect to, it may be you're not using enough ink. So it is indeed supposed to bleed through to the back. That lets you know you are using enough. I wanted to make sure it was on the card because as I set down this little cloud, I'm actually okay with it sticking above the white because I wanted room for this other one to go underneath. And I can have them overlap, but I don't want to have it interfere with the bunny's ear. So there is our card. Okay, that is going to actually blend together a little better when it starts drying. You can also lighten it a little if you needed to by adding some of the blender pen. Another thing the blender pen is good for is if you ever went like outside the lines, you could use the blender pen to push it back in. So if I had come out of this pale blue and it went off like that and I had some out here, I can use this, pushing that direction with it, and it's actually going to erase my little boo-boo. So if you were wondering why we have this clear colored blender pen, that's what it's for. Okay. So there is today's card. I do like him better with the blue jacket than the green. But they're both cute. Okay, are there any more questions other than those nibs? Just kind of going through here, making sure I didn't miss anything like last time. Okay. Again, our winner for the drawing for last time is Melanie Foy, and she got that by liking and sharing the video and then letting me know in the comments that she did that. So if you want a chance to win today's card, please go ahead and do that. Let's see. In my newsletter and on my website under virtual classes is the Beautiful Butterflies Fun Fold card class that will be going on. It's only open for registration through Saturday. So if you want in on this fun fold class, make sure you sign up on my website before Saturday. Trying to think if there's something else I'm forgetting. I hope not. If you wanted to come back on Thursday for our simple card, here is the fun fold card we are doing on Thursday. And it's actually really simple and it doesn't require very many supplies. As you can see, I've just got my back piece of cardstock, the cardstock that is the extra card, and then the designer series paper is all the rest of it. Even this little sheep, I guess it is in the middle, is part of the designer series paper pack. So this is a card you could make very easily and with very little supplies. So come back on Thursday and we will make this one and probably a couple more with the same fold because this is not going to take long. Okay, so I will see you on Thursday. Thank you so much. Bye. Oh, Cynthia, yes. Go to that Amazon shop.queenbeecreations and that will get you that link right there. That's going to take you to where the nibs are. Bye.